He is a legend in Friartown after a 15-year run as president at Providence College. Father Brian Shanley is retiring, and we say goodbye and pay tribute to that legend. Very pleased to be joined by Father Shanley. Now, Father, thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you, John. I'm happy to talk to you.
Absolutely. You were a Providence College student. You're a graduate of the college. Now as president, what do you hope that you took out of your experience as a student that you've built on in leading the college for students that come today?
Well, I grew up in Rhode Island, so I've been a Friar fan since I was a little kid. And it really began with Chris Clark on the radio in the 1960s, and then PC games started to be televised. And so I'm a lifelong Friar fan. And as a native Rhode Islander, I know what the Friar basketball team means to the state of Rhode Island. We've really kind of rallied around the Friars, no offense to URI, but PC has kind of been the more prominent team in Rhode Island. And you can see what sports does to build community. And when I became a PC undergrad, you could see what basketball in particular, but also hockey, we have a great hockey program, can do in terms of creating community with other students, creating community with alumni, with the people of the state of Rhode Island. And now as we've evolved with our Big East and the Fox Sports deal, you realize this is an incredible marketing tool for Providence College, and the kind of national recognition that we get from athletics in general, but basketball in particular, has been really important to the success of the school as a whole.
We'll talk about the reconfigured Big East in a little bit, this current rendition of the league, the configuration of it. But back in 1979, when you were a Providence College student, you saw the infancy of the Big East Conference with Dave Gavitt founding it, and you've got the great connection of your dad at Duffy and Shanley, the communications agency. They were a huge proponent in getting the Big East to become what it is today. What do you remember about the founding of the conference?
You know, I remember, as a student, I didn't appreciate the strategic side of this. But, I got to know Dave Gavitt very well later when I was here. And Dave saw the future of college basketball, and that the ECAC, which was the catch-all league for the East Coast, was not going to be a place where basketball was going to flourish going forward. So he really had the genius to see that there was a wave coming where conferences were going to dominate the sporting landscape, and that if Providence College and the other basketball schools that we were associated with didn't get into a conference and form our own conference, that our future was going to be bleak. And Dave's like a prophet. He saw stuff that a lot of people didn't see. And one of my earliest memories of the Big East is I remember going down to my father's office because they were doing the PR communications for the Big East, and walking around a corner, and I literally ran into John Thompson, and he was the biggest human being I'd ever met at that point in my life. And I thought, oh wow, this is John Thompson. And it was really a kind of exciting time for college sports and basketball. But the saga of the Big East since then has been interesting twists and turns, and we can talk about that later. So
when you think about 2012, we'll stick with that, and the conference splits, and you and 6 other schools, part of that Catholic 7, now have to figure out what your identity is going to be. How did things get figured out?
In the waning days of the old Big East, there was a bleeding of schools out of the league and this constant negotiation with other schools to replace them. And it was all driven by football and football money. And we began to realize, the basketball schools, that not only was this chaos counterproductive, but that the schools that we were bringing in to save football were not really good basketball schools. No offense to the schools, but that we felt that the basketball product was being degraded in order to beef up the football product. And the instability and the degradation of the quality of basketball was a real threat to us. And so we started to strategize about, how could we get ourselves out of this? And in my memory, at least, the critical piece was our partnership with Fox Sports 1, which was then launching. And that gave us a unique opportunity to partner with Fox because we needed some kind of a broadcast platform if we were going to be successful going forward. And so when we met together, and the pivotal meeting was at St. John's. I couldn't tell you the date, but I can remember riding down 3 hours in a car, drinking bad coffee with Bobriscolls. At that meeting, we said, we need to do this. And we need to explore the Fox option. And we needed to figure out, how we were going to negotiate our way out of our relationship with the football schools. And the negotiation piece was an interesting episode in my experience as a president. So I think everybody knows the main things that we had to negotiate were who was going to have the Big East name, who was going to keep the Garden, was that going to be ours or our former partners? And then there was a lot of money involved in terms of NCAA units that needed to be divided up. And we as basketball schools and as founding members of the Big East really believe strongly that the name and the Garden were so important to our brand that we were willing to leave money behind for the football schools to go their separate ways. And I think, as they say, the rest is history. And it turned out keeping that name in the Garden was a good choice on our part.
How much have you seen Providence College get enhanced, particularly in basketball, by this structure of the league?
Yeah, I do think being a basketball-centric conference, although we're really good in soccer and Olympic sports and all that other stuff, but we bet on basketball, and basketball doesn't have the overhead that football has, and it gives us exposure. Again, back to Fox. I can't say enough about what a great partnership Fox has been for us, but to be able to say to a recruit, every game is going to be on television, and to be featured on Fox and Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports 2 has been an enormous recruiting tool for us. And, the fact that we've been so successful in our short time, this is a gift from God. Villanova wins the national championship twice, which is an incredible accomplishment and has really lifted, that championships have lifted all the boats in the Big East.
Could you have imagined this level of success in the first 7 years?
I'd like to say I was that smart, but I wasn't. So it came as an incredible surprise, especially the second Villanova championship, and the kind of, if you will, I'll use the Catholic term, the imprimatur that it gave to the brand of basketball. And what we've seen is that the way we recruit is to say, you come here and you guys are going to be the #1 sport on our campus. And if you're at a football school, no matter how good basketball is, you're still second banana. And I think that's worked in terms of the recruiting here. And I also, your point about bringing in Creighton and Butler and
Xavier.
We hired a consultant and we looked around literally the landscape of college basketball. And that was actually an easy choice for us. Those 3 schools had such good basketball programs, such good athletic programs across the board. They fit with us from like a mission point of view. So if I do say so myself, that was a brilliant move on our part as well, bringing in those 3 schools.
What does UConn bring to the Big East, and why does it make sense for them to return?
Well, our fan base is not thrilled about UConn back in the Big East because they would just as soon UConn wither on the vine. But from a strategic point of view, UConn is an historic program, a national championship program. They're the biggest game for Providence College. It's going to be great for our fans once they swallow the fact that UConn is back. For our business, it's a great move on our part. It's going to help us with the Garden. They're already a really good program, and they bring the women's basketball. They're still the top program in the country. And so from a basketball point of view, and also from other sports, UConn is a really good program. And I think, from a marketing point of view, to be able to have a program with the stature of UConn back in our conference, you're not going to be able to get a ticket to the Big East tournament now with UConn back. And I'm excited about it, even though I kind of get my fan base's ambivalence, to put it mildly, about UConn.
And it's amazing, Father, because it bears noting again, you're a PC grad, you're a fan as well. And you've gone to so many games, which I'm curious, favorite game, favorite couple of games that are just embedded in your mind when you think about Providence College basketball?
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that when we won the Big East Championship in 2014, that was my favorite moment in the PC basketball since I've been here, because we weren't really expected to win that. And Creighton had really kicked the crap out of us 2 weeks earlier. I had actually gone to the Creighton game at Creighton, and they just demolished us on their senior night. So 2 weeks later, to be able to beat them at Madison Square Garden on a Saturday night, I was on the floor. It was just, that for me was the validation of everything that we had worked for, and winning that championship was by far my best basketball experience.
You got that ring somewhere special?
I do. I've got a few of them, but that one is the most special. And this year I think we would have won it again. I can say that because we didn't get to play the tournament, but we were playing so well this year that I was really looking forward to the Big East tournament. And the fact that we weren't able to play it was a colossal disappointment for everybody, but especially for our players.
Riding a 6-game winning streak heading into the 2020-21 campaign.
Best decision we've made here about basketball was hiring Ed Cooley. And, Ed has really changed things around for us. And our rise in terms of our basketball productivity, if you will, is directly attributable to Ed, but also to Bobriscolls and his relationship with Ed. So it's been, especially since Ed has been here, it's been a really fun ride with basketball.
What makes him different than other coaches?
He has a kind of forceful personality that is charismatic. People are just attracted to Ed. And, I think Ed could run for governor and probably win in Rhode Island, because he's got that touch. And I've been with him in public, and they don't have any idea who I am. It's just like, oh, here's Coach Cooley. And, the work he's done with the community, Ed has gone to so many things and feels that sense of responsibility as the face of our program. And Ed has given back so much to the community. And Ed is also really funny and really smart and good with people. So now Ed's been a huge blessing for us.
Father, we've all seen the success that your athletic director, Bobriscolls, has led the Friars to. Is there anything that sticks out to you that people may not know as well about Bob?
The piece that maybe folks that don't know how athletic works at a place like Providence College is that one of the most important aspects of being an athletic director is coaching coaches. And Bob is really good at coaching his coaches. And, he's done a great job with Ed. We've won the national championship in hockey in 2015. We went to the Frozen Four 2 years ago. Nate Lehman and Ed, they don't need Bob to tell them how to, diagram the pick and roll or how to set up the power play, but just about life and about helping our coaches to reach their potential and about helping them to see how to be better communicators, better teammates. I mean, athletics success is teamwork, and it's on the field, but it's also behind the scenes. And Bob is a great teammate, and I've seen it in action in the way he manages coaches, and they're all different. You have to figure out as a leader how you're going to motivate people to get better at what they're doing. And Bob is really, really good at that. And that's a side of the job I think the average fan just has no idea how much of an AD's job is, managing coaches.
I'd like to talk about Big East Commissioner Val Ackerman. When you think about this configuration of the league, Father, and you think about the challenges that came with it, what have you seen in Val's leadership of the conference?
I am the number one fan of Val Ackerman. I stand second to no one except her family in my respect and admiration and affection for her. When we hired Val, you never know in an interview process. It's a slice in time, I've learned, and sometimes you get it right and sometimes you don't. With Val, people don't understand how smart Val is. That's the first thing about Val. Val is super smart. She's analytical. She thinks things through. She's strategic in the way that she thinks about things. She's not like other commissioners, and I say that in the sense of Val comes at things a little bit differently. She's a little bit of a lower key. Val is a great communicator. I mean, I was technically Val's boss for a while and worked closely with her, and she always thought things through in 5 different ways. And I think her strategic relationships are critical as well. I mean, the fact that Val was the co-chair of this commission to talk about name, image, and likeness. Val is so respected throughout college athletics and beyond because of her intelligence, her integrity. She works harder than anybody that I know. I think Val's amazing.
She certainly is, and that's a great perspective on the Big East Commissioner. And as the league enters into year 8 in this configuration, it'll be fascinating to see what UConn brings and what the league continues to do. Father, what are the plans for retirement?
Well, I'm retiring from this job, but I'm not retiring. I think I have another gig left in me. My dream job is Val's job if she ever decides to retire. I'm thinking about, I don't know whether I want to be a college president again. I don't know if I want to go back to just being a philosophy professor. I've had people ask me about a lot of things. So my plan is to do nothing for 6 months and see what God tells me he wants me to do. And we'll take it from there. It's going to be strange for me after 15 years of 365, 24/7, just worrying about Providence College to thinking about how am I going to work on my short game? What book am I going to read? And not have to worry about the pandemic and the crisis that that's causing in higher ed. So I'm looking forward to a little bit of a break, and we'll see what my next gig in life is.
Listen to some opera as well?
Oh yeah, that's one of the things I'm excited about is like, I don't have as much time to listen to music as I used to. And I'm like, I'm going to listen to music every day. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to play golf. I'm going to pray. I'm going to visit with people that I haven't had time to spend time with. So I'm looking forward to it. Although, I don't know what it's going to feel like waking up on July 1 and going, I don't have a job. So we'll see what it's like. It'll give me more time to go to games too. So one of the things I've always felt guilty about is I wish I could be more supportive of our student athletes. And now it's like, well, if we play games,
Right.
I'll have more time to go. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that too.
Absolutely. As you depart on this chapter of your life, what's your message to the Providence College community?
I guess my message is that our support, or excuse me, our success as an institution in athletics has been predicated upon people. That's the coaches, that's the AD, it's our fans. I've heard from a lot of Big East presidents that their least favorite place to play is at our dunk, because our fans can be nasty, and they're loud. And I remember when we beat Creighton fans are so nice. Midwesterners are really good people, and Providence College fans that Saturday night in the Garden, they were really rabid. And so that kind of support for our teams is really important. And also, we couldn't have done any of the renovations and the facilities that we've done without philanthropy. And our fans have really responded to what we've asked of them and been extraordinarily generous to athletics, most of all Mike Ruane in the Ruane Fryer Development Center. So our fans are critical to us going forward. I think, we've got some bright days ahead of us, and I look forward to many more nights at the dunk and down at the rink. And I want to win a soccer championship too, because we've been good. And in this pandemic, I'm watching the Bundesliga. I've become a huge soccer fan. So I'm hoping we win a national championship in soccer as well.
Both coaches, Stewart and Lopes,
Yep.
both with great personalities, and both have done quite the jobs with those programs respectively. And that's just a piece of the success across all athletics, and athletics just a piece of what's going on across campus. I'm sure that we'll continue to see you at games. It sounds like you won't stop being a fan, which I love hearing that.
Yep. No, I'm looking forward to going to the dunk, and maybe I won't have to behave as I've tried to behave when I'm president. So I'll start yelling at the officials again.
Love that, Father. Father Shanley, congratulations on an amazing run as the Providence College president, and thank you for the time today.
Thank you, John. It's been a pleasure talking with you.